Hey guys, so I wanted to make another video about the specific versus the general when it comes to how to manifest. And I want to preface, I'm going to start this video by saying flat out so nobody can miss it, I have gotten every specific thing I have ever wanted and put any mental effort into manifesting. Even a moment of visualization, a moment of intention, anything that has been specific that I've wanted, I've gotten. But I have a very rigid set of rules for what I will focus on specifically, because as I've lived, I'm almost 43. I've been consciously, deliberately manifesting things for like 25 years. As I've lived, the more I've come to realize that you don't always know what's best for you. You don't always know what you actually want, especially if you're an unexamined person who's still just kind of like running on autopilot. You're going to think you want certain things because there are things about yourself that you haven't fixed. And so you think you want this thing, you get it. It doesn't give you what you want. I'm not saying that if you haven't fixed yourself, you won't be able to get this thing you think is going to fix you. I'm saying that as I've lived, don't do that anymore, because I've just seen how that works enough. Now, if I have a desire for something, I run it through a series of tests, essentially. I look through it and say, what is this about? Is this something coming from my ego? Which doesn't necessarily mean I won't try to get it, or I can't get it, or whatever. But is there an ego component to this? And if so, is that something that I can just kind of think about and let go? I don't know about you, but having desires for things isn't something I would particularly classify as pleasant. Like, I'm in a state right now where I can't really think of anything big that I want, anything that's like really a driving force to want. And my life is peaceful and blissful, and I can enjoy all the things that I have, and I can focus my attention on something that is not part of a desire, that's just sort of like an interest or an experience, stuff like that. So when a desire comes up now, especially, I'm like, oh, I want something, because I don't want things that often. So when I do, I look at it. Is there an ego component to this that I can just look at it and go, oh, I'm just like trying to stroke my ego with this, and I don't need that. I'm above that. I don't really need that. Then I just let it go. If that's part of it. If it's something that is still, if it's something I'm still trying to get to try to fix something about me, obviously, at this point, it's just an absolute, get that off the table and get the thing I'm trying to fix on the table, and let me look at that instead. Because when that's fixed, the things that match with that automatically show up in reality, and there's no real desire for it. It just comes up and you can enjoy it. That's the beautiful thing about changing about whatever it is about yourself that is causing the desire, if possible. Once it's changed and that's the thing, when you're in alignment with that thing, I hate using law of attraction terms, but they just come up organically. When when you've aligned yourself correctly so that you are, you fix the thing that you thought was going to be fixed by the outer thing just kind of like then becomes a whatever, and you can enjoy it and it's easy to get. That's been my experience. So if my nascent desire passes all of the disqualifiers, if it gets past those, then I just assume I'm going to get it at this point. Ask and ye shall receive. I assume that if there's a desire at this point, that it's more of a warning that I'm going to get something, not a possibility that I'm going to be unfulfilled. That's sort of a mental shift that has just happened after getting so many things and seeing how this works so many times. I essentially do a quick visualization of something to like imprint something that indicates that it's done. I spend maybe a minute on it and let it go. And I don't have any sort of burning need or any kind of feelings like that towards the thing. I just let it go. And I always remain open-minded to the possibility that something else would be a better fulfillment. I have been fulfilled in ways that I couldn't have imagined when I did not get super specific. Like, for example, my fiance, I had kind of a list I wrote out this list of what I wanted my relationship to be like. And I didn't include a lot of stuff on there that, you know, people I think like to make these big like lists about somebody that include all these like little details that they would have and everything. And then I've just never really gotten that, because there are so many things that you can't think of on that list that you would want, you know. I don't understand limiting things. You know, everybody with their limiting beliefs, railing about limiting beliefs, then create this very limited thing that could happen for them. I don't get that at all. I just had a general list of what I wanted the relationship to be like. I wanted it to be very affectionate and physical. I wanted it to be, you know, we have a lot of fun together, stuff like that. The experience that I wanted to have of the person, not the person themselves. And my fiance just appeared, and he has all kinds of things about him that I was like, oh my God, I never would have thought or remembered that I loved this about a person, and he has it. It's almost like somebody was in my mind picking through my entire history and creating somebody who I would just like be surprised and delighted by. So I don't get really specific about things, or I don't get like really attached to specific things very often. I can't almost ever now get to the point where I would say something like, this is the only thing that could fulfill this desire, because I just know better. I just know that my scope is not wide enough to understand all the things that could happen. So, but what I've noticed is with the specific desires, and this, at this point, again, like I said before, it's almost like the desire is a warning. Now I take this too, at this point, to just be like more and more evidence. I'm like, okay, I know I'm going to get this specific thing. Is if it just keeps organically coming up and I keep wanting it again and again. Like if it continue, I made a video earlier this year about this dumb thing at Panera Bread where it kept annoying me that they didn't have this particular thing on offer. Just, I don't want to get into the story. Maybe I'll link to it. It's in here somewhere under my dumbest manifestation. I just wanted them to offer something they weren't offering, and it just kept coming up over and over and over again. And then, like magic, one day there it was. And you know, that's the kind of thing that now I see over and over again. That if there's this thing that keeps coming up, and I'm just like, oh, they should really have that. I really want that. You know, it'll keep coming up if it's real, and then that's my warning now that it's going to happen. And I've had this happen now. I can't even count how many times. This exact process where I just let it go and say, you know what, I don't need this thing. It's cool if it doesn't happen. I know I want it. I know something will happen to satisfy this desire, or this desire will resolve itself and I will return to a state of not wanting. So let it go, and then there it is, it shows up. It just keeps coming up, and then I look at it again and say, I already went down the checklist. This passed the checklist the first time, or it didn't. Okay, I thought this was an ego thing, but here it is again. So maybe there's something more to it. Okay, well, I want this thing, I'm gonna let it go. It's sort of the repeat process. Every time this desire organically shows up, repeat the process of, all right, well, there's the desire again. There it is again. There it is again for the specific thing. Okay, well, again, I'm open to something else. I'm open to something else fulfilling this desire, but, you know, and then as it continues, I just get more and more sure. And last time, the last specific thing that I manifested, as it was coming up like this over and over again, I said, I bet, you know, this seems like a real long shot, but it is following this same pattern that other things that have, other specific things that have manifested have followed. So I bet you anything it's going to happen. I have no idea how, but it keeps coming up. It's following the same pattern. I've gotten every other thing. I bet it's going to happen, and it did. I'll talk about that someday. It's that is going to remain private for now. But so anyway, just wanted to make this video about my personal experience of the specific versus the general, which has a 100% hit rate at this point. I have never had a thing that I really wanted that either did not manifest exactly, or just kind of like turn into something I didn't want anymore. I've never had something that I went unfulfilled about. So I hope that helps somebody. Have a great day.